Welcome to Chang Media Sports, and we've got NBA Eastern Conference Finals chatter today. The Miami Heat are taking on the Boston Celtics. This is another interesting one. I don't think in the beginning of the year you would have thought that these are the two teams. No Philly, no Brooklyn. Where's the stars at? No, I digress. This is going to be an interesting playoff series. And to be honest, it's like the young Bucks and the Celtics taking over the new and established, guard in the Miami Heat. There's so many narratives here, but look, guys, before I begin, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. All the support here is greatly appreciated. Now let's get into it. The three main narratives and three main points to watch in this particular series that'll have a really big bearing in the series for me. And the first one is just the MVPs for both of these teams. Jimmy Butler versus Jason Tatum. It begins with both of these players, and you've got the old steed in Jimmy Butler, who really has, he really put an exclamation mark in the series against Philadelphia and showed, the scorer that he was. Doing things that we've seen the Jimmy Butler of old at really good efficiency as well. So being able to coordinate that level of offense in the clutch as well, Jimmy Butler doing Jimmy Butler things. And, it has been a pretty rocky-ish season for Jimmy Butler. You haven't necessarily seen that efficiency, that aggression from him throughout the course of the regular season, but the playoffs are when you make your mark, and Jimmy Butler is clutch, all right? Now, let's talk about Jason Tatum, because Jason Tatum, kind of like Luka Doncic, is the it thing in the Western Conference. Jason Tatum has really, really stepped up and really went toe-to-toe against Giannis. And, we've always known offensively Jason Tatum can do it. And now he's doing it consistently. And now he's also doing it in the biggest games of his career and of the Boston Celtics season. And Jason Tatum presents a matchup problem that is going to be, I think the great thing is these guys both play the same positions. So they're going to be picking each other up defensively. At least hopefully. You better believe Jimmy is going to be giving it a red hot go. So I think this matchup, does Jason Tatum get what he wants offensively? Same for Jimmy Butler. If Jimmy Butler is taking on a defensive assignment in Jason Tatum, how does that affect the offensive nature of his contributions? And I think the interesting thing here is, both teams are not necessarily dependent on these guys as scorers. But if you were to say the dependency for the Boston Celtics would lie a lot more on Jason Tatum than you'd say for Jimmy Butler, I'd say the Miami Heat are kind of constructed like my Pistons of old in the 2004 rather, Detroit Pistons, in that they're quite spread in terms of who can drive offensive contributions. So I think it's pretty interesting there, in that there is a greater efficiency or offensive dependency on Tatum, but it's a role that Tatum's willing to play, and he does it really well. And I think it's really going to be interesting. Whoever has a massive series is really, really going to give their team a leg up in terms of winning it. Look, the second factor that I think is really interesting are the X factors for each particular team. Now, what I mean by this, I mean specifically Victor Oladipo, who has been used relatively sparingly, Tyler Hero, who hasn't necessarily had a massive playoff series, but who's really, he's a sixth man of the year, right? So Tyler Hero it was his coming out party this year. He hasn't really had a coming out playoff party, but Victor Oladipo, Tyler Hero versus Jaylen Brown, as the X factor for the Boston Celtics, and Grant Williams. Grant Williams, the last game, there's a lot of recency bias, but his 3-point shooting has really opened things up. He plays good defense. Defensively, the Boston Celtics really work. I'm going to get flack for this, but he's kind of like a poor man's Draymond, communicates very well, given his physical limitations. But, the combination, who is going to provide the alpha scorers with the support, and how is it going to be done? Is Jaylen Brown, and he hasn't necessarily had a amazing or definitely flashy, let's use the word flashy, playoff, series that Jason has, that Jason Tatum definitely has. But he's been consistent. He's been there, and he has the ability to absolutely pop off as well. So is that going to happen in this series? How does Grant Williams fit in this equation? And for the Miami Heat, it's just an embarrassment of riches, right? I mean, you've got Victor Oladipo, who, historically is a stud. He's shown that he's coming off obviously major injuries, but even towards the back end of the year, he had games where he started and he was doing things. Tyler Hero, is he going to have one of those days where he just pops up 30 points and blows things out? Like it's really interesting, and because they're so deep, it creates a situation that the Miami Heat have that, like, some of their top players kind of need repetitions there, and they're not necessarily getting it. They get it in other sort of teams. So which X factors will be able to consistently be a threat to supplement the team's leading scorers? And to me, look, the third and the final talking point for this that really will determine the series is the front court. The front court action. And I think from a perimeter perspective, you've got heavy scoring across the board from both teams. I mean, we've got Butler, we've got Tatum, we've got Oladipo, we've got Williams. I mean, Marcus Smart is a physical pest. He's a defensive player of the year. I mean, he will give you some points. You've got Derek White. Look, there's scoring from the guards and the perimeter players. But scoring from the front court to me is really important and will be the differentiating factor. Look, there's no doubt here that Bam Adebayo is the strongest front court player between both of the two teams, right? And if Bam establishes an offensive rhythm early on, in addition to Butler doing his thing, in addition to Tyler Hero doing his thing, if Kyle Lowry starts, it gets too difficult for me for the Boston Celtics. Unless, and this is a big question marks, because I'm not too sure if Robert Williams is healthy enough to play, but defensively, he is going to present I wouldn't say a problem, but a worthy contest for Bam Adebayo. And the combination of him and Al Horford, remember Al Horford had a good offensive game against the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm not too sure how many of those games he has in him, but this will really determine it, because for me, if offensively from a front court perspective, Miami Heat can get the ascendancy in scoring and getting these quick buckets, it makes things really difficult. Within a half court setting, because both teams can score very well within a track meet and up and down settings. So, I mean, they're very evenly matched, and some could say the depth of both teams are the strengths of it, and they both tick those sort of boxes there. So who do I have winning? I think this is going to be a challenging series, but I think this is the time that Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics, and this may be the popular pick out there, but I see them winning this in 6. Popular meaning the Celtics, not in 6 specifically. I see I see the Jason Tatum show is really the short of it. And if Robert Williams can pick up, I've been so impressed by Grant Williams. I've been so impressed by his evolution in the 3-ball. I think Jaylen Brown is going to have a more impactful series than he has in the last 2 series. And I think the young bloods are going to take over. They're going to win those 50-50 balls. They're going to get to the line, and I think this is going to be really important in a series where you're going to have a lot of ugly games. I don't think you're going to have a lot of efficient shooting nights, because defensively these teams work so well. From a scheme perspective, Boston does so well, and they have done really well throughout the entirety of the season. And from an individual defensive capability, I mean, it starts with Bam Adebayo, but you've got all the guys from the Miami Heat that are able to defend at a level, systems defensive team. I see the dust settling and the Boston Celtics being the Eastern Conference champion. Wow, it's going to be a great series, and I just can't wait to watch it. What do you think, guys? Do you think the Boston Celtics will win this series? Give the video a thumbs up. Leave some comments below if you don't agree with me. And who do you think will be the MVP of the series? Will it be a Butler Tatum situation, or will something just pop up? Will Jaylen Brown sneak in? Will you? Yeah, there's just so many ways this could go. In essence, if you think about basketball as a team sport, these are really two of the most team-centric teams within the Eastern Conference in terms of, spreading out the load and the star power, obviously with star power at the top. And I just can't wait to watch, and I hope you guys will, tune back soon into the channel.